Hi, hello everyone. Thank you so much for all to talk here. We have a great team here. Famous people here, people from submarine cables, data center, uh, regulatory rules, and the idea here is try to start open conversation about the topics and the focus here to talk about the data centers and operators. And my first question, I don't know if before start, if someone can talk a little bit. And please, Carlos, your presentation. Just talk your name, your role.
Hello. Hi. My name is Carlos Aguiar, also known como Cadu. I work on the business development side, basically looking into interconnection ecosystems at Equinix for Latin America.
Well,
My name is Arthur. I'm a commissioner at Anatel, Brazilian telecom regulator, and of course, we regulate telecom operators.
Oh, hello. I'm Rafael Sgrot. I'm from Telxius, the country manager of Telxius. Telxius is a Telefonica army of infrastructure, of the submarine cables, and also the cable land stations, the data centers. And I'm based in Brazil, but we represent the global company, connecting the Brazil, Americas, and Europe, and also the Pacific area.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wesley. I'm sales director for Elea Data Centers. I'm responsible for the entire Brazil region in Porto Alegre, Curitiba, Paraná, São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and Brasília. So I have a great team that we are new in the market, but we are here to help not only the telecommunication business, but TI business as well.
Hello, my name is Fábio Monteiro. I belong to T-Sparkle, that is the army from Telecom Italia, okay? And I'm the sales and business developer in Brazil, in charge of Brazil.
okay, thank you all. I would like to start with a topic that's a huge to talk about because we have here, as I said, both operators, submarine cables, data centers, and the idea is try to understand better how we can or we would work in collaboration to create the future plans. And for example, when a data center started to explore to find it, looking for regions, we know that the main point is looking for energy, the plates, and understand how they can deploy a sustainability projects. And we know that's a very huge problem in a lot of regions, in several regions. And the idea is understanding how we can work in collaboration because at the end, when a data center looks for all and the best place and how it works the connectivity, how we do the connectivity. So we have diversity roads, we have operators, we have neutral operators, and it's a big problem at the end because the data center cannot choose any kind of place. So you know that we have several restrictions about energy or the main problem. And after that, the operators needed to start to work and to deliver the connectivity. So how we can think about that's the best way to try to work in collaboration to match these requirements between the data centers and the operators. How I can do? Go ahead.
Okay. What I'm seeing, I'm not sure, but I think it's starting. We have now developing the Sparkle new data center in Panama. So we are doing both things together. So we are the land station and a data center. Okay, so this reinforces that all the connectivity is closer to the content. Okay, so I think this is a very interesting way to do this collaboration between the cable for the cable submarine, the submarine cable, sorry, and the landscape of local networks and the content. Okay.
Okay, great.
Well, that is a challenge. If you talk about data center, the first thing that comes in our mind is power. Of course, we need power, and we need each more. So when we talk about it, the first thing that we need to look for, it's a good place that you have a power plant, some high voltage availability. So that is for sure the first challenge. But when you talk about a data center without connectivity, you talk about a desert isle. You need connectivity.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you need to talk with partner, not only partners that can provide submarine cable or something like that. You need to partner with carriers and operators that can deliver connectivity and data the entire region. So because sometimes the best place to create a land station is not the best place to create a data center, and vice versa. So the challenge is be in touch, create a business plan together, and study the region to see the best way to leverage not only the data, but how much operators you can bring to your data center. How can you work to invite them, to convince them to come to data center? And it involves government as well. What kind of programming you have to develop that region? So I think that the best way is first, look for a good power plant, a good place that can offer energy, because we are talking about artificial intelligence and so on, so we need power. And of course, a place that you can bring operators to deliver the data for the region.
Great. In addition to that, how, in your opinion, how they can work together on this collaboration? Of course, before the deployment and during the deployment of the projects, but how we can think that maybe the data centers can be very aligned with the operators for the neutral carriers, and maybe giving subsidies to come with the connectivity to their facility. Do you think that's something that is possible to create? So like synergy that you can work in a collaboration, because of course you having all your costs to deploy your facility, and the operators will have your own costs to go to your facility, because you need to work together. And do you think that's possible to create some kind of partnership that we can collaborate, facilitate on the operators that it's already having costs to come to your facility, and at the end you offer the best quality of services and diversity to your customers?
That is a great question. Well, first of all, a data center to be attracted for ISPs and operator, it must be neutral. So the first one is you have to have the same condition to all of them. So that is something important. And on the other hand, you need to bring content. So if the data center works to bring content to their ecosystem, probably this business will make sense to the operator, because everyone is looking for some content, like Google, Amazon, whatever, Microsoft. So if you work to bring this content, probably your business will be very interesting to them. And not only this, a data center can help operators not only with the connectivity itself. We can help them to become not a ISP anymore, a SSP. We can help them with servers. So you can offer to your customer not only connectivity, you can offer a cloud solution, you can offer a colocation solution, you can offer a managed service solution. So you can help them to leverage business. So I think that it's a way to work together.
Great. So it's not a kind of subside on the carrier, but you can give you subside to the carrier to make business. So make sense to stay in your facility. That's it.
Something like that.
Great. Nice. Thank you so much. So I don't know. Talk me a little bit about the plans ongoing or new submarine cables, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the focus in the region that you are responsible, maybe here Latin America, and with some examples that we are having, we are seeing new submarine cables, and of course you need to have new facilities and the open space deploy more data centers on the region. But what plans you think about that Telxius can work on this?
Yes, first is very interesting to address this item because the data centers need energy, and normally energy is not in the beach, right? Beach is the end point of the energy, but it's the entrance point of the subsea cable, and we must connect the continents by the beach. Right? We have to be in this last mile there. So this is a very important, or the most important point, because we have the permits. We have to connect to another country. We have to take in charge of the army and offshore business. So we have this complexity, and we know that the energy has another kind of complexity, as it's not exactly in this point. A huge energy, amount of energy, right? And we know that all of our customers, all the processor, all the NVIDIA GPUs, all of these kinds of learning, training, AI, everything, not CDN, right? Not to deliver the content, needs a lot of energy, right? And need a lot of connectivity too, and have to be always on. So the subsea cables, what is the things that we see that is very necessary to renew, put in the new generation cables. So we put new generation cables since 2018. We start in 2000, the year 2000, but in 2018 we put Brusa, Marea, using the land station example of Virginia, connecting more than 3 cables. So we go to a lot of places in the same, let's say we have this hub of Virginia in US, and in Brazil it goes to Fortaleza, so a very important point of Brazil, from Latin America, not only Brazil, and Africa also. And we have to connect to these points. And then we have this metropolitan connectivity that we have to address with a lot of diversity. But in case of Telxius, we see that our land stations, right, our data centers, small data centers with a specific function, can have some specific function to AI. But the huge AI amount of IT processing is a data center, energy, efficiency, very efficiency. We have to have efficiency in every hertz, right? And they have to be efficiency in every megawatt, in every PoE. They have to have their challenge, right?
Great. And you, Carlos, maybe in your opinion, when you try to looking for a place for a new facility, what's the main point? Not only about the available energy, of course. It's the main point. It's the first point, of course. If it's what you sell on the first, but what you see to evaluate a new project to understand, no, this is the best place to create the facility. How you do this, explore to be clear. I don't know that I will have a neutral carriers here. We will know we are near or far from the submarine land station cables. How you can check this, and how you work to understand really it's the best place. So you create synergy with the neutral carriers to be connected, to have connectivity, to receive connectivity, but to be aligned except with this with the land station, because we see the most importantly how much capacity you use on the world about the cable land stations, the submarine cables, and how you can put the position on your facility on this.
That's a good point. I believe some of the issues or the main, let's say, decision factors have been mentioned already before. I believe power is still a main, let's say, requirement for the data center, and most of the decisions, let's say, are taken in that sense. We've seen this across whole Latin America, where some of the countries like Brazil, fortunately, become a natural place for deployment of data centers because of the existence of resource power. Some other countries, they're facing restrictions in terms of power. Certainly, that's one of the elements. Connectivity, I believe all of us understand that connectivity is a key aspect of the data center, right? Data center needs a connectivity, needs to build the interconnection. ecosystem, mainly because the elements of the interconnection, they go beyond simply transmission, right? We have the cloud, we have the software as a service, we have the platforms, we have a lot of the elements that needs to be part of that ecosystem, right? But one factor that I want to mention that may drive a lot of the future of the deployments, and we've seen this a little bit, right, with the large food deployments where compute pools, let's say, demanding a lot of power and space of the hyperscale data centers, right? This is something new. And I see that the market will, let's say, segment in that sense. On the other hand, we saw IoT with the promise of the edge data centers, right? Which they will come at a certain point as the applications and the demand requires low latency and proximity to the users, right? But I think workload applications will be the main driver on that decision as well. Of course, you need to combine all those elements, but I'm going to mention something new that it's coming now, AI, right? Everybody's talking about AI, the great promise of AI. And some of the main nodes of the AI, where you're going to have the learning process, they don't necessarily need to be in the great centers or in locations where you need requirements. And usually those kinds of deployments are huge, consume a lot of energy, okay? And the consumption, we've been discussing this before. We initially were talking about 40 to 6 kVA per rack, and now they're talking about 100 and 120 kVA. It's a lot. So space needs to be cheap. Let's say we need the power requirement. And some of those demands are driving data center to places that we never thought before, right? Let's say small cities in the city. And if you look now and search for those providers of data center, they're already searching for something, let's say, in the middle of the countries in place are pretty cheap. So workload applications will be one of the main drivers for sure, right? I think it's an important key element, the platforms and how we implement.
Okay, great. I can talk a little bit because, for example, in my case, that I can talk more, our operation is in Chile, so we are a neutral carrier in Chile, and we are already aligned with all the data centers, with the operators. We work for the operators, and we know that's a big difficulty, specifically in Chile, on the government rules. So the legal part, it's very hard because when we choose a facility, so we are aligned with a neutral carrier, everything works together, the project is good, and at the end you have some problems, some legal problems to have the permits, for example, and a little bit more. And maybe you can talk a little bit more in your case in Brazil. So what do you think it's like a main point that can facilitate these parts to do this partnership works? Because of course the idea is very good, the project is perfect, but how we can be work aligned on the legal parts, okay? And how you facilitate this kind of projects.
I would even mention, Adriano, the environmental part, because you touched a good point where Chile, it's pretty a critical element that's of that equation as well, right? And we know that. Chile, it's a good example.
As an official federal representative, I must say that it's not up to us to say where or how the investment should be made, or should be done. And so our main role in the first place is to not hinder the investment, to not spoil the investment, so allow it to happen. This is the first commitment we have. And the second one is to, if we need to regulate it minimally, as long as it is necessary. For example, I was working with Minister Gilberto Kassab a few years ago, and he asked me to make a plan for data center attraction to Brazil. And we raised a lot of questions, a lot of issues that should be solved. The plan was too big to be executed, so we decided to slice it. And two parts of the plan that really we had some success was, the first one was to work with the Ministry of Energy to lower the threshold for the free market access. You know, when you need energy for a data center, but you had to pay the given price. you didn't have the opportunity to discuss the price freely with the energy provider, because only if you have a high consumption level of energy. So we work with the Minister of Energy to lower that level, so that today medium and even some small data centers can sit with the electrical company and discuss the price freely, and have a long-term lower prices. And also a measure that we worked on at that time was to reduce equipment certification obligations at Anatel. So Anatel certified a long range of equipment, from radio frequency equipment to cabling to some computer equipment, and we managed to reduce that only to radio frequency equipment. That for data centers is very important. So Anatel is not requiring certification anymore for many of the equipment used in data centers, it is this is on the side of investment facilitation. On the side of regulation, data center is not very much under the attention of Anatel. There was a very clear cleavage between telecom network and the data center. So we have a telecom network based on hardware, equipment, and so on. And then you had data centers that held the internet content, they held value-added services. This is a matter of IT, not telecom. But what has been happening recently is that every network today is software-defined. So operators are using data centers for operation support systems, for their centralized management, for core network, for a transmission network, even for access network. So Anatel started paying attention to that. We have recently changed our cybersecurity regulations to comprise not only traditional networks but also submarine cables. That was not part of our cybersecurity guidelines, mobile communications, and also data centers. And when you use it for, when we apply that for data centers, that means that telecom operators' cybersecurity policies should be looking at data centers and cloud computing when hiring, especially third-party providers, to guarantee they have supply capacity and to map the risks and mitigate them as long as they can, if that data center could eventually imply an impact on the network if there's an attack or something like that. So we started to regulate data center in a minimum level of cybersecurity necessities regarding telecom networks.
Okay, yeah, good point. Just to continue and back to talk about the submarine cables that we start to mention, it's important to talk about. We see new projects coming, and we see a lot of connectivity. And of course, submarine cables sometimes maybe need to have some option to have contingency routes. And of course, you need to use the terrestrial routes maybe to be part of the ecosystem and not only be focused on the submarine cables. So as you saw recently, you see any event on submarine cables is not something we can fix it in so fast. So maybe it can be a big problem for the world connectivity, and maybe the terrestrial roads is still growing to be the backup part. And when you talk about that, I don't know, Fabio, if you want to talk about to understand how you can think about the work when you see a new project on submarine cables has some relation with what terrestrial roads will do, what you plan to be part of your backbone?
Yes, good question. Yeah, in general, we analyze the whole environment, of course. Okay, we take a look especially on some strategic roads, of course, because we need to think that the submarine cables need to be very stricted, because we cannot compete with the local carriers. Okay, most of the carriers, they do they are developing the country. So we need to be very specific in some specific roads. Like we were talking about crossing connecting Buenos Aires to on our case, right? Connecting the Atlantic with the Pacific, okay?
Right.
With some strategic roads. So I would like to address back again to the point that when we build the data center in Panama, okay, we did that looking at exactly in the way that we are connecting the north with the south, okay, in the submarine cables, and between Atlantic and Pacific. So the data center in Panama, they connected the both sides of the Americas, okay? So we have a submarine cable that goes to Santiago to Los Angeles with a leg in Panama. And from the Panama, looking for the Caribbean and the Atlantic, we have another piece of cables, okay, that connected. So we have this kind of looking for this kind of backup that cross the things, and also we put a data center that can serve all these rings, okay? So this is the main idea. So we are not going deep in the local and terrestrial, but we look at the very interesting backup plans.
Yeah, it's a good point. You put a good example that, and feel free for anyone to put any other question. But you put example for in Panama, for example, we have a small part of the terrestrial piece, and curious you said about between like Chile and Argentina, it's a big long terrestrial road. So we know actually that we need to be careful because the roads will be a problem. And of course, it's more stable when you use a submarine cable, but you need to use this part because it's different in Panama than connect Chile to Argentina, to Las Toninas. And we know, for example, maybe you can use your question to understand. We are talking about the new cable, Rumble, that's coming, that to connect Asia to Chile, and Chile will be the next hub of Latin America. Not because maybe they have a lot of content, but they will be the hub because all the content will go to Brazil. So this is a big terrestrial part to be part of the road, and we know that's a big problem for the operator of subsea cables, because if you try to create a new roads, then sometimes that road that you already have, you be a long road, a lot of latency, and you need to use the terrestrial part anyway. And it doesn't make sense to come with a new submarine cable if you not interconnect with the other cables in another side. So it's a good question.
Yes, I'll just continue regarding the Latin American, right? Chile and asking you, say, why is it important to Brazil to have a new cable that Telxius is doing right now, connecting Guatemala to Boca Raton? And we say, what, Guatemala to Boca Raton to Miami, right? Is it important? Very, very important, because it takes the route, and we go to Chile, and then we cross the Central America, and then return it to Miami. If something happened in the Atlantic, this is the way out to Brazil. This is the only way out. It's happened, something huge happened to Atlantic, right?
Sure.
We have to move to this direction, and that's why we are building this cable is with AMX crossing Guatemala. We already have the cable in 2001. One cable, and this is the same landing points, right? So we sustain the same landing points, but with amount of traffic that supports if something happened, right? This diversity is very, very, very important, very, very, very important, and also, as you said, we do not have a crossing cable Pacific, right? But we saw how Fortaleza save a lot of traffic from Africa, right? From other countries when some disasters happen in Senegal and Congo, right? And then we go to the terrestrial, right? We are experts in subsea, right? And so terrestrial, for sure, we have to have the diversity, but we always look for local companies. In Telefonica, we have, for sure, we have Vivo as a, for sure is, we do not have, they have a very good quality of network. They are in the business a long time, and also Telefonica in Chile and every place. And this ecosystem is, we can carry all the carriers and data and things that might sustain the communication of the country and Latin America, and then connect to Europe and the United States.
Okay, so for sure, maybe we can talk that not first point and main point. It's the main energy, Carlos, but maybe to create a new project or deploy a new facility, and for sure you need to understand, of course, first how this connectivity will comes on the main submarine cables, and what's the importance of that. So when you're looking for a new facility on some region, any part of the world, maybe you can give some example for us. And first you looking for on the region. So how is the region? Why is the region it's important or not? So the region needs to grow. So this is the main point first. In what place, in what region you put your investments. So first, and after that, of course, the second one you start on that region for energy, for power, and so how you do this research on the regions to understand the next investments.
Yeah, and this is a good point, because and that's a discussion we always have. What is the edge, right? What is the edge? For a global market, for a global corporation, the edge may be a single point in Latin America, right, where they may need that. Perhaps, let's say, main cities in each of the countries. If we're talking about IoT certain application, perhaps the edge, it's going to be the street level, right? And we look a lot into the global perspective, right? We have a huge plant. We are in 33 countries, 260 plus data centers. So we look for capillarity in terms of the global deployments, okay, for the global corporations, right? The cloud providers, for example, the content providers, the level of capillarity and the edge they need, okay, may represent, let's say, country level in certain regions like Latin America, right? But as you said, connectivity is a key issue, right? Because bringing the content, bringing the platforms, let's say the connectivity, it's a key element. I think it's developing a lot. Let's say, as our friends from the cable industry have been saying, Humboldt, it's a reality that it's going to connect South America into the Asia market. And I think those aspects, combining cable with data centers, may bring a lot of the content and a little of new platforms into the region, right? I believe North America started first, and it's clear to see the number of cables we have connecting North America to Europe, to Asia, and Central America and to South America. But I think those are the elements we take into consideration. Another important point, you see Chile, for example, it's transforming into a digital hub, right?
Yeah.
Most of the cloud providers like Google decided to deploy there for several factors, environmental, let's say, easy to do business type of countries. So the connectivity, and there are a lot of aspects, let's say, that may take. But in our case, we look a lot to try to understand, let's say, what the edge means and how we're going to deploy and expand the network in such a way we could supply and provide, let's say, the service and the needs, okay, for our customers. But again, everything is changing, right? Every new application, new platform, let's say, changes completely the architecture and the way the networks are designed, right? We need more capillarity, we need more places to reach and locations.
Great. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I would add that everything is changing and very fast. And talking about that, I would like to bring the edge topic to this conversation. It's tough to say what is edge. As Carlos mentioned, can be a country, can be a street, whatever. But when we talk about IT and telecommunications, we need to offer reliable solutions. And we know that there is no free lunch. You have to pay to have something that it can protect your one way to another. So I think that solution could be start to explore the tier 2 market. So instead you work only in tier one market like São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, for example. You can spread to different regions and you can use it as a alternative route. So it's something that you can think because you solve some problems. For example, power, energy. Instead you power 20 or plus or more megawatts in the same region, you start to work with 5 MVA, 6, 10 in different regions, and you can count on the operators to work together so you can create different connectivity routes, and you can use it as a alternative, as a protection. So it's a way to work in kind of a reliable solution, but by offering some solution or product to the market. So I guess maybe we can start looking with carefully for tier 2 market from now on, in my opinion.
Okay, great. And just to in addition to what you said, do you think that on this case, when you talk about the new submarine cables being deployed, what the relation we can talk about and tell about that? Because as you said, when you talk about the connectivity on the terrestrial part, it's clear. But you think that this Anatel is involved or need to be involved in this kind of projects on the submarine cables, because it's not only a ocean view, but you need to understand when the terrestrial part you need to use. So have some relation, or you're not involved with that?
Yeah, so Anatel has been more and more involved with the submarine cable system because more than 90% of Brazilian data and transmission goes through submarine cables. And that's why we have recently considered a critical infrastructure, and therefore operators must send information about their submarine facilities to us so that we can coordinate any response to an extreme event that may happen. You know that in Brazil, when you compare to Europe and United States, it's relatively easy to deploy submarine cables. Okay, you need the Navy license, you need an environmental branch license, the local government for the landing part, the federal government for the seabed, and that's it. Okay, that's basically that. So, and that doesn't take long. Generally, it takes less than a year to get those licenses. In some countries, it may take up to 5 years to have all the necessary licenses to deploy submarine cables. So Brazil never raised so much barriers for submarine cables, but on the other hand, we were never so much concerned about their security and their safety, which is not a good thing. So there was a recent episode, I was talking with our colleagues before, in the city of Fortaleza, which is the biggest submarine cable hub in Latin America, where 17 submarine cables arrive. So the local government recently wanted to deploy a desalination plant near the place the cables arrived, and of course that raised concerns on everyone because of the security of the cabling system. And after 2 years of discussion or more, the local government decided to move the desalination plant to another place, which is very good and an important solution. But that also raised the question of, don't we need more hard rules on submarine cable protection in Brazil? So should we elaborate that? Should we create those rules, discuss that with society to avoid situations like that in the future? So we started to talk with different countries that have some serious regulations on that: Portugal, Australia, some northern countries, and so that we can create at least some guidelines for best practice for submarine cabling protection in Brazil.
Okay. So it's a very good point. It's a lot of questions, and we can talk here all day long here about a lot of topics. So unfortunately, we don't have all of this time. But before finishing, I would like to open if someone wants to add some comment or something, or if not, we can open questions for the people.
Well, I guess the last but not least, I guess we need to think about sustainability too. We know that we have one planet only, and we know that resource is not, infinite. We need limited resources, so we need to work with responsibility. So I guess the message is, how can we deal with this need for power, need for connectivity and everything, but how can we take care of our environment, our planet? I think that the new leaders need to think seriously about that.
Okay. Anyone?
Yeah, I think my point of view, I believe power, it's a main issue, right? Sustainable power, it's an important issue. But I think if you look the perspective not only Brazil, but Latin America overall, I believe we are in a pretty good moment, right? If you look into the possibilities and the potential, okay, of this combination of data center, interconnection, submarine cables, and all the platforms, let's say, and the things we could bring into the market, right? It's a huge population, right? We have concentrated mainly south of the Latin America. I think as many cables we see coming Fortaleza, Rio, São Paulo, I believe now we're trying to come via the Pacific coast and interconnecting, right, the Pacific to the Atlantic coast. I think that's another key element. And I think in terms of the region, I think Brazil, it's best one position in terms of being capable to provide all that infrastructure and become a big center, okay, of those deployments, right? So I think what's coming, it's good for all of us, and I think we should work together, like, let's say, we try to do, let's say, with creating the interconnection ecosystem, creating, let's say, all the diverse ecosystems surrounding financial ecosystems, the cloud, it's around the platforms and everything else, right?
Okay, nice. So, any questions for someone? Okay, I think that we are on the time, so maybe a few minutes exceed, but it's all good. Thank you so much for your participation. It was a very nice conversation, and thank you for all.